But
We are live now.
all right,
Well,
cool.
recording now.
All right. So this is Drew and JC here with Horror Watchers. It's been a nightmare switching our programs.
It's been horror for sure.
Uh, we have Austin Rutherford with us here tonight, and we're gonna talk some movies and filmmaking and stuff. But I'm gonna go ahead and shoot it over to our guest and let him tell you a little more about himself.
Hello, my name is Austin Rutherford. I live in southeastern Kentucky, and I have been a filmmaker for the past going on 16 years now. Um, Kind of started off in theater. I got involved with a local theater group here where I live. Um, I started off kind of as a volunteer cast member and sort of worked my way up into the production side of things. And then after a few years of that, I was fortunate enough to be asked to be involved with like a big feature film that came to town here where I live. And that kind of, I guess, maybe got my foot in the door and been going at it hard ever since.
Right on. What theater group were you involved with?
So there is a community-based theater group here where I live that is ran through our local college. It is called Higher Ground, and basically what it is it is ran and partially funded through the Appalachian Studies program. And so at its conception, when it was created initially, it was made with the intent of community engagement, engaging with the community and also sustaining the community. And what's really interesting about that is that all of the stories that are, all of the stories for all of the plays, all of the scripts that are written are based off of oral histories that are gathered within the community. And so members of the team actually go out and meet with people within our community and they interview them and they gather information and stories, and then that information is then names and things are changed, of course, but that information is compiled and they turn it into scripts for these community plays. And so they turn them into scripts, and then we have volunteer cast and crew members from the community that come on board, and we basically kind of create all of these big, huge, like musical productions from scratch. Um, like I said, I got involved in 2000, and I think it was around the summer of 2009. And so I started off as just like a volunteer cast member, and then obviously being kind of a didn't really know too much about theater at the time, but I knew a lot about filmmaking and kind of how to make movies, and obviously, those are kind of similar as far as the production side of things are concerned. So that was sort of my introduction to that, and obviously, it was something that I wanted to work towards, and so I kind of just worked my way up within the crew, and I actually ended up. I worked my way up to co-director for one of the productions. I directed the fifth installment within the series, and it's been going for. We're actually, I think, next month they're going to have their 20-year reunion. They've been doing it for 20 years within the community, and we're actually gearing up to produce our. I think it's our 12th production, our 12th original play. I haven't really been involved with it as much since I started doing the film stuff, because obviously that was sort of my, I guess maybe what I was more comfortable with. I kind of gravitated more towards that, but I did actually kind of get involved with them again, and I'm actually doing some. I've been doing some interviews and things to make like a little kind of tribute video or whatever for the reunion coming up, and so I've kind of been able to go back to that and get back into the fold, which has been cool.
Yeah, that's definitely cool. Especially now that you, as a filmmaker, you're able to kind of document that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sweet. I like that whole like gathering kind of local tales, like kind of building it straight out of word of mouth folklore kind of. That's
Yeah.
that's a unique thing. I know I have a lot of family members who are in different theaters and
Yeah.
run different shows or act. And my
Right.
cousin in particular is real deep into it. Like he was just in the
Yeah.
Death of a Salesman here in Pittsburgh
Oh
recently,
wow.
and I have never heard of that before, despite being so kind of entrenched in similar upbringing. That's
Right.
really unique, and I think that's super cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Have you? I mean, you said that you're kind of documenting this now as a tribute video. Are you thinking of maybe going kind of deeper, turning it into maybe a
Um,
documentary or something?
yeah, it's been talked about before. Back when I first sort of, because I did the theater stuff, but then I've always sort of just done the film stuff on the side. But at least in the moment back in 2010, when I first got my start, that was kind of that was really the only creative outlet that we had. You know what I mean? Like, because even today, like even where I live, I think we've maybe had 5 or 6 feature films that have come to town. In that time frame, a lot of them which I've been involved with. But at least at that moment in time, like there wasn't really any outlet to plug into creatively, like film wise. And even now, there's still just a very commercial projects come and go, but there's still kind of just a very small like group of us that do it. But all that being said, I'd kind of thought about it before, but I guess maybe I just didn't feel like I kind of had the means to make it happen at the time. But fast forward to now, and I've kind of been at it for a while, and I have all of my own gear, and I have people that are willing to come out and help and things like that. And so it's definitely been kind of on my mind, and a few people that we had done a little gathering not too long ago, probably about a week and a half ago, and some people had actually expressed some interest in us maybe wanting to do that. So I would say that, like, doing a full on, like, proper documentary is definitely in the cards.
I love documentaries, man. For whatever reason, I just feel like drawn to them. I enjoy even just playing around making them.
Yeah.
Uh, we made one.
He loves them so much that he drives in through a snowstorm like 5 hours, 6 hours
Yeah.
for like 8 hours worth of filming.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
dedication right there.
yeah. I mean, it's such a fun, unique form of. It's not even necessarily storytelling in that same regard, but just information telling, or when you have the right subject for a documentary. I think doing something about like a theater in Kentucky, to me that is something I would watch. I would seek that out. I would find that. I would watch it. That's unique, especially the way that they operate with like
Right.
local kind of storytelling. And also that's a real genius way to not have to pay fees for scripts and stuff, because I'm pretty sure that's how theater works, right? When you put something on,
Right.
you kind of have to you rent a license for that production.
Yeah, that's kind of typically how what I've came across with stuff like that. But to add to what you're saying, it is really cool. But then it's also unique in the sense that, like, some of these people that go and tell us these stories, like, they can come and watch them portrayed. And it's really cool because it also just gives people a platform. Because I mean, some of these things are, at least with the plays, we've always tried to kind of, each play is different and unique in the sense that we always try to touch on whatever's relevant in the time, that we perform it. Obviously, the agenda and things have changed a lot over the years, just different things going on in the world, but each play is sort of unique to the time frame and what's going on around us. But the most rewarding part, I think, sometimes is that we kind of provide. It's kind of a safe space, right? Because it's like you can talk to you can get up and present a play and present a dialogue and speak to someone and say something that you need to say, in a theater setting in front of a crowd of people that you may not be able to walk up to someone on the street and bring up. And so that's kind of the cool side of it, is that it allows like a platform for people to maybe not agree or disagree per se, but it at least opens up like a dialogue for people to be like, oh, well, I never thought about it that way. So
Yeah, right
that's
on.
the cool part for me, and really for a lot of us, because like there's been times where we finished up a play and we always did this thing at the end of each show where we go and meet with people. We meet with people in the crowd and thank them for coming and things. And there's been so many people over the years that have stopped us and said, well, your story or this character or this scenario really resonated with me. And it's super rewarding, but then it also is kind of like self-sustainable, because it's like, then sometimes they go into telling some other story or some relatable thing, and then you have another story to add in, so it's all very cool.
Yeah, for sure. So how do you go from that to making movies and features?
So I was doing that stuff with the theater, and again, it was all volunteer initially, but then there was funding like through federal funders and grants and things like that allowed us to basically be paid for our work, because we hit a point where we decided within the group that instead of bringing in outside artists, like, why don't we just utilize the ones that are here, you know because we felt like we were just as capable as anyone else, any kind of guest artist or anything. But so I ended up getting onto the crew in like a paid position as a job, and at the time I was in college there as well. I was taking some classes, and so I was on work study at the college, and we had a film production come to town. Where I live in particular, it's the Tri-Cities area. It's just three little small towns kind of on the other end of the county. But they're the director of tourism in Harlan, which is on the other. We live in Harlan County, but the city of Harlan is on the other end of town. The director of tourism, runs the um, convention center, and so there was a group of filmmakers that had contacted him and said, we are interested in potentially coming to your city to film our movie, and we were wondering if you would know of anyone that might be able to help us. And so the director of tourism contacted our theater group, and most of our cast members and crew members, they just do it as like a fun hobby. I mean, by all means, they take it very seriously, but they just do it for fun. But me, like, it was something that I was interested in as a potential career. And so the director of our program, he tells the tourism director, he says, we don't really have anyone that is familiar with film, but the only person we have is Austin. And they were like, he's been dying for like an outlet to plug into with the film stuff. And so, he would love to be involved. And so I went and spoke with the production manager. I went to the Holiday Inn in Harlan. She had texted me and told me to come to the Holiday Inn in Harlan and meet her in the lobby, because that's where they were staying for their tech scout and things. And I ended up. It was interesting, because she asked me, the first thing she asked me was, she said, because I thought I was so nervous. Like, I thought it was gonna be this big, huge, formal thing. Like, I didn't know. All this was new to me, foreign to me, and I thought it was gonna be some big formal interview. And I was so nervous that I was gonna mess up. But like, I met her. She was sweet as could be. The first thing she asked was, she said, "Okay." She said, "I'm gonna give you a scenario." And I said, "Okay." And she said, she said, "Say we're filming a movie." She said, "Say that you have to film a scene like in the snow of a fox running through the snow at a distance." And I was like, "Okay." And she said, "Okay, what if we get like 2 minutes before time for camera to roll and the fox runs off and the handler can't catch it?" She's like, "What do you do?" And I said, "Well, I guess you get something that resembles a fox and like shoot it from far away, and cheat it." And she's like, "You got what it takes, kid." And then like, and then like, that was it. Like, that was the whole thing. And then she and I sat and talked for a while. about what was going on. But that movie actually ended up being Above Suspicion. It starred Emilia Clarke from Game of Thrones, and Johnny Knoxville was in it, as well as Jack Houston. And so that ended up being like a $50 million movie that took place, right here where I live. It was by all means a trial by fire. I jumped in as I was actually technically listed as an office PA, but the production manager, her name is Julie Hartley, and she was the sweetest can be, and she really kind of took me under her wing, and she kind of seen it as, you might not get an opportunity to do anything of this caliber again, living where you do and being where you are. And so she basically was like, I want you to have the best experience that you can possibly have. I want you to soak in as much as you can. And so, in addition to being the office PA, we kind of had a deal going. We're like, if I got all my work done in the office, she would let me go play on set, and so like, I would bust my butt, get all my work done in the office, and then I would go to set and hang out in the makeup trailers or hang out in the wardrobe trailers or hang out with the camera department or whatever. And so that was sort of my, I guess, big time, like, proper training initially there. But it was just, it was really almost like a life-changing thing for me. It really changed the whole trajectory of what I do now.
Yeah, heck yeah, man. That's cool. It kind of like, it's almost fate, like fell right on your plate there. Like you definitely had to take advantage of that. And then to be able to just absorb it like a sponge, like, and not to just have somebody who's like, this is what we're doing. This is what you need to do. Like get the hell out of my way. And so,
and I can honestly say that, I mean, everyone on that crew, even though it was all people, most of the crew had come from California. They had come from LA to work on the movie. But I can honestly say that even though it was definitely one of the most challenging things I've ever done, I feel that's true for everyone that was involved, at least from here where we live, because we flipped everything on its head because that had never been done here before. But I can honestly say that every single person on that crew was just good as gold to me. They really just did everything they could to make it the best experience possible and help me as much as they could. And so I'm just eternally grateful for all of them.
Yeah, we had
going into something like that. How do you? Oh, I'm sorry, Drew.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. You're better.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, going into something like that big, and like something that awesome. How do you not psych yourself out?
I did a lot. Thankfully, I had a good support system. There was a lot of, because I mean, it was just this huge undertaking because that was the first film that we'd ever shot in this area. And not only was it, and it just so happened to be a big, huge, big budget movie, and so there was a lot of psyching myself out. Because like initially, like I almost thought that it was bogus, right? Like when I got involved on the crew and I started realizing like who all was involved and who all worked on it. Like one of the producers was Colleen Camp, who was the maid in Clue, and like she was one of the main producers on the movie, very sweet lady. But it was directed by Philip Noyce, who, did like The Quiet American, Clear and Present Danger with Harrison Ford, Patriot Games, that kind of thing. And so it was certainly like a pinch me type thing because, like, once I realized who all was involved, I was like, there's no way. Like, why on earth would they, I was like, how on earth did they end up here? Like, this can't be legit. But then it ended up being legit, and it ended up being, it ended up being one of the best experiences I've had. But what I was saying, going back to it, is that like it was super challenging in the sense that we are so isolated because where we live in Kentucky, it's like we're kind of just a small town, and there's some bigger cities, but they're not for a few hours away. And so it was kind of like if you were to have shot a movie in Los Angeles and say you needed a new camera lens or you needed a different light or something, you could call someone up and have it to you in 5 minutes, but us being here, it's like we had to get everything overnighted, like through USPS. We had to do runs to Georgia to like pick up lenses from Panavision. I mean, like it was logistically, it was an absolute nightmare. Trying to just kind of make it happen, but somehow it all come together and we got it done.
That's almost the charm of like some of these places, like in the Mid-South and like the Midwest, is where you can literally be in the middle of nowhere for hours, and then all of a sudden there's a city, and then there's nothing again for hours. And that's something I miss. I was like, when I first moved to Cleveland, where I'm at now, I was like, oh man, I'm 15 minutes from downtown. It's gonna be awesome. I hate it. I went out of here so bad. Like.
Yeah.
So things you take for granted, especially when you have like you got all that, kind of privacy, and you have the room. I mean, there's trade-offs, like you said. Like obviously, you can't just get things or people, right at the snap of a finger. But if you properly plan stuff, I mean, you have so much area that you could possibly film in. You have places where you can potentially do things like stunts, you can blow stuff up. You can't do that here.
Right. And we've had like I said, I think we're on our maybe 5th or 6th feature within the county since then, and I've been fortunate enough to be involved with a lot of them, and that's kind of it's interesting too, because I think that it's safe to say that, like we become desensitized to things a lot. Like once we've been in a certain place for so long, like we kind of quit paying attention to things that other people notice. And so, there's been so many times where we've had crew members come here from out of town or from somewhere else, and they go on and on about the scenery and how beautiful it is. And they'll say, oh, well, I drove by this and it's amazing. And then like, it's just, it feels good in a way, because then it makes me think like, oh yeah, like they are right, that is nice, and so it kind of helps keep you grounded, I think.
Have you ever worked with Donald Farmer?
I have never worked with Donald Farmer. I'm aware
you're going to say Donald Trump.
Yeah, I haven't ever worked with Donald. I'm familiar with his work. I've watched several of his films and things. He does have a couple of people that he's collaborated with over the years that I've also kind of done film work with. Just because, seems to be kind of a common thing, especially where we are, that if you kind of find a group that, you enjoy working with, you tend to kind of stick with those people. They end up, a lot of the talent and a lot of the actors and actresses and things end up kind of on the same projects, more times than not. But I've worked with some of the people that he's worked with. I've just never been able to work with him right yet.
Yeah. Just a quick update here. This is the second podcast that my baby has now been a part of. I guess his older brother is a little sick right now, so I had to take the baby here. But the reason I asked is because I know he's down, like he works down south in that area. We've had him on the show. Our last movie that we did, he has a cameo in.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, so it's just one of those things with this podcast is like, I've learned that especially in indie filmmaking and the horror scene, we're just kind of all in the same circle. It's always this kind of the same people, same actors, same actresses, and we're all just kind of
having fun.
Yeah, that's just what it is. It's like every one of us still has a day job, and there's no money, and we all just share this love of just getting the job done, making that movie. And like, I didn't realize until after, but some of the people that we had shot with were just most recently in Donald's recent movie. So not only is he in it, but we probably have maybe networked with some similar actors and actresses that maybe you have worked with too as well.
I can definitely see that being a thing.
But so how do you go from working on this, $50 million budgeted movie to Now, based on your page, I do apologize if I'm wrong on this, but you have Candy Carnage Productions and Wicked Vision Productions. Are both of
Yes.
those your companies?
So Wicked Vision Productions is my production moniker, my own personal one. That is something that I sort of pinned back in 2010 when I first got started. I just kind of I do have one. I have one short film that I directed that is on Amazon Prime. Not very good. One of my first shorts, had a lot to learn, a lot to figure out. But so I released that under Wicked Vision, and then pretty much just Wicked Vision is mine, and so any kind of personal project that I do that I write or direct, like I release under that. I don't have a huge amount out under it right now, but I'm kind of working on a few different things. They're hopefully going to be kind of on the radar soon as far as that goes. But Candy Carnage Productions is a production company that was launched by my friends Jacob and Greg. Um, Jacob Ennis and Gregory Brock. They've been a filmmaking team here in Kentucky for. They've been friends for almost 20 years, and they've been releasing films together for probably about that long. But so I basically got involved, kind of similar to Above Suspicion. It was like I'd seen a post on Facebook. It was a casting call for a movie called The Town Without Halloween. And I'd seen a bunch of stuff about it online, like within the Kentucky film groups and things, and I'd seen about it, and I was interested in potentially helping, but it's sort of like it seemed like it was kind of being filmed somewhere off, and so I kind of didn't really maybe look into it all that much because I kind of thought it would just be too far off and too long to be away from the day job and whatever. But I seen a casting call, and they said that they needed extras and that it was going to be filming in the town that I live in, basically. And so I responded to the casting call on Facebook, and I reached out and I said, hey, I'm 100% willing to show up and be an extra. Like, I'd love to be in the movie. I've seen some stuff about it. I think it's really cool. I was like, I'd love to be an extra, but I was like, just a heads up, like I have almost, 15 years worth of film and set experience. And so I said, if you need any help at all, like, please do, feel free to let me know. Like, I don't care to help. And the person that I messaged ended up being Greg, my buddy Greg. And so I showed up the day to be an extra, and then the day after I took over as cam op. Because we just kind of hit it off, and they actually, Greg actually lives here where I live, and our buddy Jacob lives a few hours away, but he would come to town. But so I ended up just putting in like a lot of work on probably the last half of the Town About Halloween, and then I guess I'd done a well enough job that once we wrapped on the production, like Greg and Jacob and Heath, Heath is another person who formed Candy Carnage. His name is Heath Coppage. He lives in Louisville, but he's a great friend of ours. He's been a huge help. But so they spoke to me and said, you've done so much work, like not only with the camera, but just with other things and the production side of things, that we'd like to offer you the producer credit for the movie. And so I ended up producing, ended up coming on to the movie as a producer. And then, we ended up releasing The Town About Halloween with worldwide distribution last fall. And so that was kind of I would say that was a milestone for me, because like having my name to something, having my name attached to something else like that I kind of was able to produce, like step up and produce aside from being a production assistant or whatever it may be, so that was kind of cool. And then we shot a movie back in April and May. We shot a movie in Indiana called The Last Sleepover. It stars Felissa Rose from Sleepaway Camp and Lisa Wilcox from The Nightmare on Elm Street. Part 4.
Man, I love Lisa Wilcox.
Yeah, and so we got Lisa, we got Felissa. Both of them were great, just sweet ladies, very down to earth. But so I co-wrote The Last Sleepover with Greg, and like I said earlier, we're getting ready to. Most of the principal photography's done. We have a few pickup things that we need to get, and a couple things to kind of finish it out. But we're hoping to have it. Hoping to launch a finishing funds campaign within a few, hopefully here soon. It went in demand on Indiegogo, which we're very thankful for, and so we were able to kind of leave the campaign up past its normal allotted time. And so we're hoping to kind of revamp it here soon, maybe roll a trailer out, add some new perks and things so that people can kind of come along for the ride and help us get it across the finish line.
Well, send us the link to that, and we'll put it in all of our show notes and stuff. And when I advertise and post, I'll always include that.
Yeah, I'd appreciate it for sure.
Yeah, that's the least we can do. Like this show, it's completely not monetized. We've turned down donations from people. For me, it's 100% about just soldiering on and doing the best that I can for the people who give us their time.
Absolutely.
So anytime anybody comes on, I will throw your links out like I'm going to earn money from doing it.
Yeah. It's definitely appreciated for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But so I met Felissa Rose once, and I had she actually super liked me, and I was wearing a Joe Bob shirt.
Yeah.
And that immediately, we were at a drive-in, and she gravitated toward it. So I have a couple of pictures that I got with her because I became her favorite person there for wearing this Joe Bob thing, and she kept just telling me all these stories about when she was on, doing the shows with Joe Bob and stuff. So she was a very sweet person, just a really cool hang. And
I completely agree. She was a very, very sweet lady. We'd show up to set or whatever, and she had a little cheer that she made up for me. And so because I'm the kind of person, like when I'm on set, like I try to keep like a light set. I mean, obviously there's a ton of work that needs to be done, but it's kind of like, the work's hard enough in itself. And so I try to do everything I can to make sure that people have a good time. And so, I'm always the first one to go around and I try to be like the hype man. I try to go around and just reassure people and try to hype them up and build them up and whatever. And I feel like I definitely met my match with Felissa because she just kept one upping me with everything I did, but, she was very, very sweet, and same goes for Lisa. I didn't really get to. I wasn't around Lisa as much as I was Felissa on the shoot, but Lisa was just very nice and down to earth and very, very gracious with her time. Whenever she rapped, she could have just as easily just got her things and left, but whenever she rapped on her part, we were filming a big crowd scene that day, and so she kind of just hollered at everyone and said, "Hey, I'm finished with my thing now. I have some time before my flight." And she's like, "I'm more than willing to meet with you all, take selfies, sign stuff, whatever." And so she ended up hanging out for 2 hours after she rapped to just meet everyone and take photos and make sure that everyone just felt seen. So, but between Felissa and Lisa, I feel like and really just our entire cast and crew on that movie were just absolutely incredible. I would put them up against anyone in the business probably, and I feel like I would fight a bear for any of them. And so we were very fortunate with everyone that we had involved on that one.
So speaking of Lisa Wilcox, all right, you said Nightmare on Elm Street 4. It's probably, it's for sure my favorite Nightmare movie, but I would put it in maybe top 2 or 3 favorite movies of all time, right? And that movie had a huge effect on me, and So obviously, so you have the I can't remember. It's the Lethal Weapon director, right? I always want
Right.
to say it's the Die Hard director, but it was
Yeah.
Lethal Weapon, I think.
Yeah.
And he's the guy who comes in and he's like he's the one who kind of sees the charm and kind of turning Freddy Krueger up from 5 to an 11, right? So we
Right.
start to see like all the kind of the goofy shit with the glasses,
Yeah.
like the sunglasses
Yeah.
and stuff. So this dude comes in and he makes this movie that is a huge to this day has this huge impression on me. So what is a movie that kind of created that impression for you that made you want to do this with your life?
Um, that one's easy. So I am a huge Wes Craven fan. Interesting that I don't know. I believe in kind of full circle moments and things coming around, and it was funny because my buddy Greg and I, Greg ended up directing The Last Sleepover, and and I co-wrote the script with him. But so he and I are both huge Wes Craven fans, and so The Last Sleepover is kind of a it's kind of like Mean Girls meets I Know What You Did Last Summer, but like the Wes Craven vibes are strong.
Yeah.
It definitely has some like Scream influence and things like that. But anyway, the first horror movie that I ever watched was the original Hills Have Eyes. I don't quite remember how old I was at the time, but it scared the living crap out of me because I'm like, especially someone who lives like in Appalachia, where
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
I know that's a desert, and that was way back before the wrong turn times. And I was thinking like, holy crap, like this could totally happen, whatever. But anyway, I watched The Hills Have Eyes, and I don't know, it just woke something up in me. You know what I mean? Like I just started craving it, and I was kind of like, this is awesome. I want to watch whatever. And so I went to my local like movie rental store, back when those existed, and I started renting all these Wes Craven movies, and I was very introverted, like as a kid. I'm a little more kind of, outspoken now, but like I was very introverted as a child. And so like I was kind of sheltered a little bit. In hindsight, my parents probably would have let me do whatever I wanted, but it's kind of like I don't know. I kind of kept to myself and kind of did my own thing. I was kind of a loner, still am. But, movies kind of ended up being my escape in a way. Like I did that to pass the time a lot. And then as I got older and life started getting harder in situations, that's what I would do to kind of, escape from reality. But so I became so obsessed with like Wes Craven movies, and I would buy these DVDs, and like a lot of the times before I'd ever even watch the movie, I'd go to the special features and watch the behind the scenes features of Wes directing. And like I told myself, I was like, man, like I think this is something that I could do, And so it kind of in a way become my like unofficial film school. Like I was able to kind of, watch and see how he did things and sort of teach myself how to do it. And and yeah, so I would say probably like the original Hills Have Eyes, and a little down the road probably Scream, the original Scream.
This is kind of an oddly specific question here, but have you ever watched the Wes Craven interviews that were included in the 1999 DVD box set from the Nightmare on Elm Street series?
I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have.
So I was like 14 years old when I bought that. It wasn't
Yeah.
quite when it had came out. Like I was working under the table as a dishwasher at the time, and it took
Mhm.
like 2 paychecks to go buy this thing. And I remember like I cracked that thing open, and to this day, it's kind of like a grail for me. But there's an extra disc that was just all kind of like bonus features, and he had just kind of like pieced all of the creation process together for that. And there's just certain things that to this day I feel like I just watched it 10 minutes ago. Like I
Yeah.
absorbed everything he said because he was a filmmaker's filmmaker.
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
looked up to him. I looked up to him too a lot,
Yeah.
and just even the way that he kind of described coming up with the idea for the overall kind of like look of Freddy Krueger, right? Like, he went into like such great detail about how there was like this guy outside of his apartment
Yeah,
when he was a kid who had like
yeah,
the fedora on, and it like scared the shit out of him. And the
right.
dude kept coming back and would like
Yeah,
realized he was messing with this kid and got some kind of like sick joy from it. Like anybody
yeah,
listening, like if you guys are able to find those interviews, because they are not included on any of the subsequent releases since. And I don't know if they're going to be in the 4K set that's coming, because that
yeah,
seems to just be an upgrade of the
yeah,
last DVD set. But man, those are some really good interviews for kind of the process of how he had come to create some of his horror movies and stuff. But
yeah.
yeah, man, dude was an absolute legend. Um, so I don't know. We might be kind of short on time here. I know we're getting into 10 o'clock. I know you said that you kind of work.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So why don't we do this? Because we unfortunately had to start a little late due to this new program and everything. I would love to actually have you come back.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I'm
and,
more than down.
all right. Awesome. Yeah. So just go ahead, and anything that you can think of to promote, go
Mhm.
ahead, and everything that literally anything,
Yeah,
promote it. The floor is yours. We'll do
okay.
everything that we can to help with getting people to check it out,
Yeah,
and we will for sure have you back as soon as possible, and we
okay.
could do this again and get kind of deeper
Yeah,
into your process and some of the movies and stuff.
yeah, I love that. Cool.
And we'll still have the same problems.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's the same way with us. Anytime we did a bunch of lives and things for last sleepover, and anytime we planned as much as humanly possible, and then the second we started going, it's like it's always something, some kind of technical something.
Oh yeah, yeah, for
And
sure. The
we
last
had
movie
we
we
had all
made.
kinds of fun trying to get on here.
Yeah,
And we this new platform, and then my power randomly goes out.
yeah,
I literally, like I told you earlier before we got on, I was like, the first like years I lived here, I never had issues with power. Now it's like it just goes out randomly all the time now. Like I live in like a third world country, like in the Balkans or something.
yeah.
And there, I just killed off our love from anybody in the Balkans. Sorry.
Right.
And then on top of that, I'm like, Drew, send me our intro video. He sends me a picture.
Oh,
No, it didn't.
It was a
it's
picture.
it's fine. It's fine. I'm
What
working
am I
on
gonna
2
do?
half-broken laptops right now.
Yeah. So yeah, go ahead and promote whatever you got. And
okay. Sounds like a plan to me.
Candy Carnage Productions, Wicked Vision Productions. What was the? Do you know the name or the link or anything for that Indiegogo that you were?
I'm pretty sure it's Indiegogo.com/the last sleepover, and
Alright, cool.
that should get you at least somewhat close to it.
oops, if I spelled it right, I'm testing it right now. There we go.
Okay.
Yeah, and so the link that's currently, the campaign is, we did go in demand early on a few months back, and so the campaign from before is still up, but then like I said, we're hoping to kind of revamp it here soon, add some more perks, and hopefully get us some finishing funds and things to get it done.
So there are
Yeah.
hyphens between the
Okay,
last
hyphens
and
between the last and
sleepover.
sleepover. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm gonna put a link up here on the screen.
Okay, cool.
Maybe. Please don't power go out. Add show.
There
There
we
it is.
go.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, we got our wonderful ticker at the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So everybody, if you're listening on the audio platform, check the show notes because I will have included the links in the show notes. But just be a cool guy and go support our YouTube channel because audio podcasts are dead, man. But yeah, so there it is for anybody
It's just
watching right
ours.
now. Yeah. Yeah, all those problems, but we're able to do
Yeah.
Did you guys hear that sound effects that I'm playing?
Yeah.
yeah, we can hear them.
Okay.
So I was
All right,
kind of
cool.
commenting. Nothing worked, but we have that.
Yeah.
But all right, usually
All
at
right.
this time I would click a button and we'd have like our cool outro, but I'm gonna have to go ahead and edit that as soon as we're done here. So Austin, thank you for joining us. It was
Thank
fun.
you all.
Yep,
I'm
thanks so much.
looking forward to chatting with you some more. I feel like we only scratched the surface.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
awesome.
looking forward to it as well. Thank you all for having me.
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, man. So you're going to be free to go, JC. This is
All right.
your new platform here. I don't know what to do to stop recording. So
the preceding program has been brought to you by the Watchers Podcast Network. If you enjoyed the show, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends to help grow our network. Check us out on all social media platforms, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. And until next time, thanks for your support.